Hey folks, it's Bill once again with the Nintendo Super Power Club Challenge channel, and please forgive my demeanor here for a moment, but I do have a disclaimer that I need to get off of my chest right now. As you've no doubt noticed, the gap of time between the two videos here has grown a little bit long as of late, and there's a very good reason for that. Lately, after my recording software went through an update recently, I've only been able to record audio, video, or nothing. It has been very rare that I get a clean shot recording after a single segment of gameplay. And while I wouldn't normally mind that so much, go back and re-record, the problem is that when you re-record and you save over the game spot, or like you normally do in every single one of these videos I've done so far, if the gameplay is not perfectly recorded, the entire segment and thus the entire game save slot is a waste. Which means, since I've had to re-record this challenge 3 separate times, it's 9 hours apiece down the drain when I had to restart from the beginning up to the point of the floating continent. It's very frustrating and very demoralizing, as I'm sure you can imagine. So here's where we're at right now. We're at the start of the World of Ruin, and I do not have the captured gameplay footage of the floating continent. I no longer care. We're going to start from the World of Ruin and continue on from that point. At some point, after this challenge is over and done with, I will go back and I will re-record up to the point of the floating continent, or rather just that particular segment, just to show that we have the entire thing on video for the strategy purposes. That's all I really need to say at this point. I have no desire to go back and waste more time recording it 4, 5, or 6 times over. I've got better things to do, and as much as I love Final Fantasy VI, I really would like to continue on with other challenges, but that's where we're at this point. So, that disclaimer's off the chest. Sorry to bother you with it, but let's continue on with today's video. Alright folks, welcome back to our playthrough for Final Fantasy VI. We are now into part 14, although you could call it 15 with an asterisk. As I've mentioned, we do not have this segment of playthrough from the floating continent up to the point where we're currently at, which is the start of Ruin. Enough said about that. Anyway, back to where we're at right now. So we're at the start of the World of Ruin. We only have Celeste in our party right now. We have all of the weapons, items, and defensive stuff clear up to that point, so we can pretty much customize Celeste however we want. What we need to do right here, fast forward, is we need to get Cid back to full health. Now technically we don't have to do it. Nothing's going to happen if we don't, but I like to be a good completionist, a good karma player, so to speak, so for the sake of what we have to do here, we need to run back and forth between the beach and Cid and feed him fast swimming fish. Once again, I need to reiterate, fast swimming fish only. Now, if you see, like in that instance where there were slow swimming fish or medium swimming fish only, then do yourself a favor, don't pick any of them up. Just go back and forward. Now here, you will see a fast one clearly right there. So the moment you see a fast swimming fish, go ahead, pick it up, take it all the way back to Cid, and you're going to wash, rinse, and repeat every single time. Now bear in mind, this segment could go very, very quickly, or it could take you quite a few minutes. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened here. So, for that very reason, we're going to go ahead and fast forward through the end of this, because it's the exact same thing that you're going to see for the next, what, 4, 5, 6 minutes. And as much as I enjoy catching fish, I really don't want to bog the video down with it. So, we're going to fast forward to the end of this segment, and we will pick up when we get to the very end, and Cid is back to full health. Alright, we toughed it out, but we finally completed this portion right here. Cid is back at full health, and we are going to see about possibly, hopefully, finally getting off of this stupid island here and continuing on with the rest of the game in this World of Ruin. So we go down into the basement of this shack here, and we find that there is a raft. And Cid is basically telling us that he has our blessing to go ahead and leave this island with the raft. We're going to go out into the World of Ruin, and we're going to hopefully find the rest of our party members and go on and do what we need to do here. At this point, we really don't know who's out there besides just us. Are we the only ones left alive? Who knows? We really don't know. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to venture out, and we're going to find for sure what exactly the rest of this world holds for us. So we're going to say goodbye to Sid right now. And as we're floating along in the water here, one thing that you may have noticed when we were going through the menu option screens is that we actually had another Esper that we picked up before getting to the World of Ruin, and it is called the Seraphim Esper. That is a critical one that you obtain in the town of Zen right before going out to the floating continent here, and it's big because it gives you the ability to learn both Cure 1 and 2 and the Life Spell. Those are huge, and those can actually be obtained much sooner than the point that I obtained them. And you can really go ahead and acquire them at any time toward the floating continent to make that section of the game extremely easy, or easier than necessary. So we come to, and Celeste is basically passed out after that raft trip, but she's awake now. And the closest town we have is Albrook. Man, you thought we'd be done with this town by now, right? Nope. Pretty much the same old stuff that we've already seen a million times before. You should take a moment to make sure that you have at least a couple of each in your inventory here. Tents obviously don't hurt. It might not hurt to have a couple tinctures as well. We're going to go ahead and head in here, check the weapons and stuff, and where it's pretty much the same as it's always been. Let's go ahead and check out the armor shop. And once again, you're going to find that it is pretty much the same old stuff you've come to know. It's the same gear that you had at the very end of the World of Balance, and assuming that you did the right thing and bought everything, which I know we did, we're good to go. So we don't need to worry about buying anything else. We're going to go ahead and leave the town of Albrook. There's really not a whole lot else to see here. Unless you talk to some of the NPCs, they'll tell you that they found another one of our party members a little further up north. Now, one thing you're going to see, Celeste is by herself right now, right? And we need to be very careful to not let her die, because if she goes down, obviously the challenge ends and we lose. So, don't worry so much about taking down enemies here. Worry about staying alive, at least until we can find some more of our party members. So that's why we have Celeste in the back row. That right there is the Tower of Kefka. Should we be strong enough and have enough party members, we can descend down into that tower and go ahead and try to complete the game. Obviously, we're not going to even think about doing it solo because we're not at that point yet, but obviously it would be suicide if we tried. Alright, here's another town. Let's see what it is. This is the town of Zen. Alright, and we're going to make sure that we're fully healed up here because there will be a rather interesting section. Whoa! Coming up here right about now. And basically what this means is, yep, Kefka just zapped the whole town with his Light of Judgment. Oh, we got Sabin here. Well, come on, Sabin, jump out of there. Obviously, he can't do that right now. He's holding up a house from collapsing. All right, we as Celeste have to go into this house and retrieve a kid who is in grave danger right now. And the problem with that is there are a lot of enemies here who can do significant damage and basically end your run really quickly. Now, a smart thing to do would be equip your character with the ribbon spell or the ribbon relic, because that will prevent any of these other kind of stone spells from taking effect from these stupid scorpions here. Unfortunately, we didn't do that, but it's not a big deal because these scorpions and enemies aren't going to do nearly enough damage to kill us. So, notice we did pick up some nice stuff in some of these chests here. You do not want to open that one up near the steps here because, trust me, just don't do it. You'll see why. Magicite, there's the kid. Don't get the one on the far left. That will cause an unavoidable fight that you have to basically trigger and fight. And you notice how you only have about 5 or 6 minutes in this house here. That's not a lot of time, and you want to avoid unnecessary fights wherever possible here. Yes, there are quite a few treasure chests that you can open. Yeah, don't open that one. As I said, there is an unavoidable fight, and you don't get any rewards for winning that fight. So, I mean, there's a couple fights that obviously you could take down, like this one's not too tough, but honestly, I really don't want to take my chances here. Do get that chest, the Pearl Rod. Randomly cast Pearl, which is a holy-based attack on enemies here. So if you can imagine fire, ice, bolt, quake, Pearl is the same thing, except that it is a holy-based attack, and that is a nice thing to have. Pearl is a very strong magic attack, so later in the game when characters like Strago, Celeste, and Terra are capable of using it, you will see that it will do significant damage to enemies here. Alright, so we get out of that house with quite a lot of time to spare, but as I said, I tend not to take chances in that house. There's really nothing in there that you can't afford to not be without, except for maybe the Pearl Rod, and then again, even then, that's not that big of a deal. Alright, so we get out of there, and now we have another party member at our disposal, and thankfully it is a heavy hitter, and in the run that I did here, the second run, to make up for the save being run over, Sabin is also a very hefty magic user. So he's good with level 1, level 2 base magic, and he also has Cure and Cure 2, and I believe it or not, I think he also has the life spell equipped. So we did quite a bit of power leveling before going to the floating continent here, which you're about to see. Obviously, make sure that you equip everything that you can possibly need, all your old World of Balance stuff. I do like the running shoes with him, and I also like to put the black belt, or you could also put a myriad of number of types of relics on him, but I prefer the running shoes for sure. So we're going to check both of the armor stores and weapon stores here. There's really nothing that we don't have already, but just for the sake of looking at it, we'll do it right here. You're going to see in the weapon shop nothing we don't already have. Don't waste your time, don't waste your GP. Just get what you need as far as bare essentials with items if you don't already have them, and then get out of here and continue on with your quest. Okay, so we're pretty much set. We're going to leave the town of Zen and head off to the east through this island, World of Ruin. We're going to head northeast to be specific. And on the way, you're going to be fighting some monsters that really aren't too difficult, although if you're facing them solo with Celeste, obviously it would be considerably more difficult. So it's a very good thing that we have Sabin in tow to help us along the way. Now, we're going to be fighting a couple different enemy types, and as I said, nothing to be too overly concerned about with physical attacks. They will go down, a little bit lengthy of a battle at times, but man, having that Sabin claw in tow is extremely useful. Alright, so we're going to continue on over to the east-northeast, and eventually we're going to come to a little bridge up here. I'm just going to cross over that bridge. And nope, right before we get to it, we got one more little fight here, and nothing we can't really handle here, just a wolf and a vulture-looking thing. We could fight them or we could choose to flee. Honestly, it doesn't really matter too much, but one thing you want to keep in mind here is that we need to get our magic skills up to speed as quick as we possibly can. It's great to have those level 2 spells, and in the case of what I did prior to going through the floating continent, I was very careful to ensure that my main party had level 2 magic equipped on pretty much everybody, and level 2 cure spells as well as the life spell. And that's where the Seraphim Esper was very, very critical and crucial to have. Made sure I got that out of the town of Zen before I approached the floating continent and got all my team members riled up and leveled up there. So that's a good thing, and that's where we're at right now. I think pretty much everybody has what they need. So Sabin, we're going to go ahead and put the Shote Esper on him so we can start learning the Bio spell. And then I think we can go ahead and continue on with that. That's where we're at, cross the bridge. We're going to continue to move over here, and it's going to be a lot of the same enemies that you've seen quite a few times. And we haven't really seen these ones, but nothing we can't really handle. So again, you have the option to fight them or not. It's kind of a 50-50 split with me. Sometimes I'll choose to take them down. Sometimes I won't. Now, what you will see is there will be a forest along the way coming up here, which has an optional area for getting a chocobo, and you can use that to go up, or you can use it on the return back down. We're going to choose not to do that. Alright, and before we get to that aforementioned forest here, we have a battle with a couple of Delta Bug enemies here. And I'll tell you, these things can be very easily wiped out with Sabin's Fire Dance Blitz, as you're about to see right about here, if we can successfully get it to go off. And if I recall, yep, here it goes. So check this out. We're going to get 4 hits. Wow. About 1,800 damage apiece, which is a lot of damage anywhere, but especially for this point in the game, that's a lot of damage on a singular enemy here, spread across 4. Pretty nice. Now obviously it's not going to work that well with all enemies, but certainly against those particular enemies it's very nice. Alright, we're going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit at World of Ruin speed. These Bloom Pyre enemies are very, very annoying. Now, they may look very similar to enemies that we've seen back in the World of Balance, just with a slight palette or color palette swap. And to be fair, it is very similar, but the major problem is that they will hit you with a attack called Power Sap, which will turn you into a zombie. And the problem is when you only have 2 characters here, if you get hit with that one time, you're basically half done. If both characters get hit with it, it's a game over. So you need to be extremely careful. Oftentimes it's beneficial to just run from those enemies as opposed to trying to kill them and risk getting zombified. We finally get to this town here, and we're going to make sure that we're fully healed up. Before we do that, take one final battle here. We are going to fully heal. It actually is not a bad idea to use a tent so you can get your magic back to full speed, full health here. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to take out these last few enemies here. We are going to heal up with a tent. We only have one, but thankfully it doesn't matter. We only need one. And then we're going to make sure everything we need is good to go here. We have some final preparations that we're going to make before a major boss fight coming up here. So we'll make sure that this is good to go with Celeste's tent save here. And I think it looks good here. We're going to go ahead and walk into this town. This is the town of Mobliz, and you may note it looks a little bit different, right? Two major preparations here. Put all of your characters in the back row. Secondly, wall rings. Trust me on this. I know we haven't really utilized them up to this point. We are doing it here. So put the wall rings on both of your characters, or else you will be hurting very painfully and very badly. So put them on, both in the back row. Feel free to walk into this house at that point, and you're going to watch a major cutscene unfold, and we are going to be reunited with a major character here. Question is, which one's it going to be? In the town of Mobliz, there's a couple it could possibly be if you think back to the World of Balance. And we walk on through. Little kid's going to try to fight us, huh? Oh, you're cute. Wait, who do we got? Who is it? It is Terra. We have been reunited with arguably the main protagonist in this game. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to skip through this cutscene here because although it is a major cutscene for dialogue points, story points, we're going to go ahead and skip it because, again, the whole point of this entire challenge is to show us beating the action sequences here as much as we love the game and the story. So it looks like Terra is not really up to snuff, not really feeling the battle at this point, so we're just going to leave her where she is. And what happens at this point? Fun Baba. What's Fun Baba? Well, you're about to see. It is a major demon that was released when the World of Ruin came into play and Kefka unleashed his light of judgment. So, how tough is Fun Baba? Take a look. Alright, so Fun Baba has several forms throughout the game here. The first one is unwinnable. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how tough you are, how much magic you have, whether you're morphed or unmorphed, you cannot and you will not deal a single speck of damage to him. So, you can do whatever you want. You may as well just put the controller down and just wait for him to, you know, do his little thing. This should pretty much be enough. Yeah. Now it says annihilated. Thankfully, that's not the end of the game because we got two more characters right here. And here they come in. And let's see. Are they going to be able to revive? Nope. But we will have a chance to fight Fun Baba for real now. So here we go. This is an actual boss fight with a chance to win. He's got about 7250 HP. He does have a major weakness with poison. Now, you're going to notice right here that both of our characters are blinking blue, right? That's because we have the wall ring equipped. Now, what that means is you don't have to worry about any magic damage coming your way, and that's big because this big old fun bag likes to use bolt spells, both Bolt 2 and Bolt 3, both on singular and double characters here. So that wall ring will be extremely useful. Only problem, of course, is that he absorbs lightning attacks. So, with that being said, you want to make sure that you hit him hard and hit him fast to offset the small healing that will be done with those bolt damages here. Now here's a problem. Blowfish is a guaranteed 1000 damage attack, and it cannot be avoided in most cases. So if it and when it happens, make sure you have a hefty supply of Phoenix Downs ready because when it comes, again, it's a guaranteed KO for the character here. Bring him back, make sure you revive him to full health. This is actually not a bad opportunity to use an elixir. You've got quite a good stash of them if you've been saving them throughout the game as I have. So go ahead and burn one. Chances are if you didn't save before the start, you're going to want to refill your magic anyway. Bolt 3, this would normally be a KO right here on both characters. Whew. Thankfully, it hit him, and it only healed him for about 284. Considering he's got 7200 HP, that's not that big of a deal. So keep on hitting him hard and fast, and eventually this big old bruiser will go down. The only real major problems you have to worry about are his, number one, Blowfish attack and the Solar Plex attack, which is clearly physical, but sometimes that attack can even be blocked or avoided, and the damage really isn't that bad in the first place as long as you're sitting in the back row. If you're in the front row, there is a chance that that Solar Plex could outright KO you, depending on how far along and leveled your characters are. Thankfully, we did some power leveling before entering the World of Ruin, so it's not that big of a deal here. This battle is pretty much a joke, provided that you've made the preparations and taken the proper steps that we've shown you before coming in here. Thankfully, we did that, and this little old ugly thing should be going down relatively soon. It's just a matter of time. Just watch out for the blowfish attacks. He'll be gone, and we can continue on with the next part of the story here. Let's see if this does him in. I think we're pretty close. Right about here? Nope. It's going to take a few more hits, I wager. Yeah, not much else to see here. It's wash, rinse, repeat, doing the exact same stuff we've been doing for the last minute or so. Hopefully this will do it. Ooh, that was a nice critical hit with the attack in the back row. And that is a very good thing about having one of those mace weapons there in the back row. Once again, not only do you have the damage, but you still deal full damage from the back row. So those are useful to have. Once again, the only downside to Celeste using that stuff is she can't use her runic blade. Doesn't really matter here. So we get out of there. Fun Baba will escape, and we don't readily get anything right off the bat here. Although when we leave this house, cave, basement, whatever you want to call it, we will be getting a nice little reward, and it is something that will be almost impossible to beat the game without at our level here. And I'll show you exactly what we mean once we get out of here. So Terra, obviously, she got KO'd from Fun Baba here. We're going to let her rest up. As we leave, what do we got here? What did he drop? Ooh, a brand new Magicite, Fenrir. Well, let's take a look and see what that Magicite is. As I said, it has a critical piece of magic attached to the Esper. And that magic, as you're going to see right here, go right in and take a look at it, is X-Zone. X-Zone is huge for glitching through the toughest of monsters here. When you combine X-Zone with Vanish, which is a part of the not the Seraphim, but the Phantom Esper, you can outright destroy and kill just about any enemy or boss in the game, with very rare exception. You put Vanish on first to make them invisible, and then X-Zone is a guaranteed 100% hit on virtually every enemy and boss in the game. It's can't miss, can't fail. Take advantage of it every single chance that you get. We will absolutely be abusing it as we go through the end of the game here. So, after you have all of the necessary magic that you need for curing and attacking, make sure that you put both Vanish and X-Zone on all of your major party members here. So as we head on down south out of the town of Mobliz, we're going to encounter this Chocobo stable in the western part of this forest here. Now this is nice. You don't necessarily have to do it. If you feel like leveling up, you can take the long way down south. The problem is we don't really have any tents, so this is probably the safer way to go. So we're going to go into the Chocobo stable here, grab one of those, and continue on southward all the way back down where we came. Go around that hook up to the northern side. And eventually we will be at the next checkpoint here in the next town in this game. Now, ordinarily, I would fast forward to the next part of the game, but we're not going to do that here. Instead, we're just going to let this play out. And the reason we're doing that is to show you, if you think back to the challenge playing card, there were obviously 3 sets of challenges, like every other card. And the Pro one obviously states to beat the game without dying. However, the normal level challenge states to beat the... What is this again? Oh yeah, the Fanatic's Tower, which is right there and right in front of us. Should we manage to get over there into that tower and beat it without dying, we would have completed the normal challenge. So, some would argue we're technically past the halfway point in the game, which I think we certainly are, because we don't need to acquire every single character to get there, but I digress. Alright, we get off the Chocobo, and we are now at another town here. This is the town of Nikia, which is a town we have definitely previously encountered in the World of Balance. We're going to go ahead and do some searching through the shops here before we continue into the next segment of the game here. Basically, this is a good opportunity to refill on items that you may be a little bit low on. Once again, make sure you have at least 3 of everything. 3 of all the good items, I should say. Attacking, nothing new here aside from the Enhancer, which is a weapon that will power up your magic. So I will go ahead and buy that just because it will help Celeste a little bit. We are going to take her out of the back row, and now she can use her runic blade once again. And here we go, nothing really new for Sabin in terms of attacking, but we are going to sell some stuff that we no longer need, so we'll get rid of these old, worthless, antiquated items. Everything from the back row is pretty much not worthless, but not as powerful as the stuff that we currently have, so get rid of all that stuff. We're going to keep the rods. Some of these old, antiquated sets of armor and shields, like the buckler. I can't believe we still have a buckler here. But anyway, that's gone. Get rid of a few more sets of crapola that we don't need. Now we're going to move over to the item store if these stupid NPC will move out of the way. Armor. Ooh, look at this diamond armor. We're going to buy a good set of this for Celeste. Diamond armor is basically the second best base armor in the game, aside from crystal, which we will find a little bit later. So crystal, and then of course there's specialty armor, which we can find if we look extremely hard for, which we will, because we want to go into the final dungeon as prepared as possible. Anyway, we got diamond armor. We're going to buy diamond vessel for Sabin once we have enough GP to buy that thing. Right now we don't, so right now we're going to sell off some more antiquated stuff that we no longer need. And once we have about 12,500 to 13,000 GP, which it looks like we're pretty close, get rid of a few more sets of gold and mithril mail. There we go, buy the diamond vessel. And that's going to increase Sabin's defense stat rating from 154 to 166. That's kind of nice. Incidentally, in case you're curious, the highest defense or attack rating you can have in one slot is 255. That, of course, is assuming you're using one weapon. If you're using a Genji glove, you can significantly increase or double that stat. Anyway, I digress once again. Alright, we head into the cafe here. Basically, in order to advance this portion of the game, you need to talk to all 4 Crimson Robbers here, as they're called. And you could go down to the boat there, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to do some talking with this guy here in the bazaar, and this guy in blue looks kind of familiar if you look at the character sprite pretty closely. Notice the way he's talking, the way he's walking. Also, look at the spelling of his name. Pretty good chance that this guy could be Edgar, although why is he being called Jared? Aha. Yeah, you can tell. It's pretty obvious. Yeah, pretty damn sure it's Edgar. Even when I first played the game, I had that hunch. Obviously, I do now. Alright, so we follow down south, and we are doing a little espionage and eavesdropping on the conversation here with Jared and the Crimson Robbers here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to hop onto the boat from the back side where nobody can see us. And we're going to take this boat ride all the way across the bay, the ocean, whatever you want to call it. Alright, and as we get off the ship here, we are now entering South Figaro, and it will look very familiar to the first time we saw it. The only difference here is that unlike the World of Balance, we have the option to go back to Nakia if we really want to. And honestly, there's really no reason to. We're just going to stick right around in this area. Now, a couple things we can take note of here is that once again, we can go into the item shops, the weapon shops, the armor defense shops, and get stuff that we need. And damn, these NPCs are annoying. Not a whole lot to really look at here. It's pretty much the same old stuff, except for the gold lance. If you have the GP to afford it, I would definitely do it, because as you can tell, you will most likely be getting Edgar back here, not to mention Mog. Who knows when you'll be getting him, but obviously he's a character you can use, so if the gold lance is available and you have the GP, please go ahead and splurge on it. I'm going to go ahead and buy it by consuming a lot more crap that I clearly don't need and just selling it off. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. We're going to get 1 copy of the gold lance with however much GP it takes. And a couple more of these. Definitely don't need a stout spear for getting a gold one. That's a big chunk of GP right there. And a couple of those, couple of these. Don't need the Hawkeye anymore. And that should be enough. We'll buy our gold spear, our gold trident, whatever the heck it's called. Gold lance, close enough. Leaves us with practically nothing, but that's okay. We got what we needed. We can always get more GP out in the field. So, we're going to go ahead and leave. Get out of the way, you stupid NPC. Alright, now you have an option. You can take a chocobo here if you really want to, or you can just run out into the wild and go to the next part of the game. Honestly, it doesn't really matter that much because I'm about to make a mistake here. Before you leave, you want to be sure that you try to encounter all of the Crimson Robbers and Jared again. Do not do what I just did, because if you go to the next segment and you don't actually meet up with these characters, it will be a dead end and you're going to have to make your way all the way back to that section. Also, not to mention I made a few more mistakes. I forgot to unequip the wall ring. I had a bad blitz input there. So yeah, everything's just kind of hitting the fan right now, but fortunately, we're going up against these stupid no-rabbits, as they're called, and the nice thing is when you kill one of them, they will immediately cast a good spell or a good item on you, and yeah, everything is just completely going wrong here. Anyway, go ahead, finish this off. We're going to make our way into this cave here, and we're going to basically show you what's in there. Obviously, we know it's a dead end because we know we didn't do what needed to be done, talking to the Crimson Robbers here. But at least you can take this as a learning opportunity, see what's up ahead, see what's in here. You probably have already seen this before, so it's nothing too shocking, for lack of a better word. But let's go ahead. First of all, fix a couple things here. Get rid of these wall rings. Certainly hold on to them, because we have not hit the point in the game where we will need those wall rings for a life or death scenario. But we will be using them again eventually in the not too distant future. Once again, we will need 4 copies of those wall rings, so be prepared. We will be needing to spend more GP on them eventually. All right, now we go in here to this cave. We're going to walk all the way through, and you're going to notice once you start getting through here, it is very similar. In fact, it is nearly identical to what you saw the last time in the World of Balance. The only difference is that the enemies are considerably tougher with more HP and dealing more damage. So, with only 2 characters, that presents a problem here. You may be inclined to keep your characters in the back row, or they'll be taking significant damage as they are right now. So, take note of what you see. Not a whole lot else in terms of treasure chests to really be aware of. It is what it is, and honestly, there's really not a whole lot I can say right now. So with that being said, all I'm really going to do is fast forward to the end of this cave, and then all the way back to the point of the end of this video, because there's not a whole lot else to see here. Alright, I will point this out here really quickly. So normally, if you remember, there was an exit to the cave. We clearly can't go out that way. And there was a recovery spring right there, right? Well, we can't get the recovery spring either. And once again, that's because we didn't do all of the conversating that we needed to do back in the town of South Figaro here. And we got hit with a nasty attack with a quartz pike from that Dante enemy there. And it kind of serves us right for not doing our job, right? So yeah, as I said, learn your lesson, don't do what I did, and do what needs to be done with the talking points before coming through this cave. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and fast forward all the way back out of here, and we'll end this part of the video. Alright guys, that's pretty much going to do it for the end of this part here. We're going to go ahead and save right outside the town of South Figaro here. And I got to tell you, this is a good place to save because the next part as we go through that cave is going to have a very difficult boss fight without proper preparation. So be prepared for that, and we will see you in part 15, the next part of this game. Take care.